Tonight I did not sleep well. Could those 18 drones and 8 Russian ballistic missiles fired at Kyiv be the reason? Missiles as a mistletoe is sort of a Russian Christmas regards for Ukrainian. Hey, you from Russia with hate, we hope you die. Well, whatever that was, missiles or mistletoes, all 26 targets were successfully downed by our air defense forces. God bless you guys. Thank you for the opportunity to do my part and to be standing here tonight and saying as usual, good afternoon. This is Henry Keane at UATV English, fighting Russian aggression by delivering hard truth in easy terms directly from Ukraine. Last night, Russia attacked Ukraine with 18 drones and 8 ballistic missiles. Ukrainian air defense downed all targets. What was that, you ask? Nothing new, that was. Just Russia professing its usual Russian terror tactics of winter terror to destroy Ukraine's critical infrastructure.
As a result of the enemy attack last night, fallen debris was recorded in the city's Donetsk district. At one address, the fragments of the rocket fell into an open area. No further ignition. At another address, the blast wave damaged the window of a private house. No fire was detected. At another address, a fence was damaged and windows were broken. 4 victims were identified. Igor Klimenko, Minister of Internal Affairs of Ukraine, on Telegram.
And 100% efficiency rate of that air defense operation means that the armed forces of Ukraine use the capabilities of Western weapons by 100%. This one goes to all those, whiners going like, Ukraine is misusing Western weapons. Better spend it on something useful like, lift sanctions from Russia. So we all can buy cheaper oil from Putin and petrol prices come down. Putin needs money to build a new bunker. Well, not exactly. If that would be only a bunker, Ukraine would gladly build one for Comrade Putin and all his minions and let them in and lock them up forever, transmitting them imitated military combat operations, data so they could command their imaginary armies and wage wars and kill and murder only those imaginary people. Sadly, this is not the case. Comrade Putin needs more money to kill the real us in Ukraine. Russian factories work in 3 shifts, producing kamikaze drones, cruise and ballistic missiles. The enemy tactics is to deplete Ukraine's air defense ammunition stockpiles. This is why we need more modern air defense systems of various types to protect ourselves. The resilience of Ukraine is a matter of security and stability of all Europe because the humanitarian crisis that Russia is trying to cause in the world is fraught with negative consequences for the entire continent, believe it or not. So if Ukraine falls, it is you, dear world, who is next to be fighting Russian Tsar's imperial ambitions on a real battlefield. The time is now to do it on the international political arena while we all can. On December 9th, the President of Ukraine signed amendments to the legislation on national minorities adopted by the Ukrainian Parliament, Verkhovna Rada. Reformation of the protection of the national minority sphere was one of the important requirements to open negotiations on Ukraine's accession to the European Union's family.
I'm seeing Hungarian Foreign Minister today. This will be our first meeting since the beginning of the in-person meeting, since the beginning of the large-scale invasion, and I think this very fact speaks for itself, that we continue dialogue, we talk to Hungary, and as I just said, Ukraine changed its legislation on education and the use of language of national minorities in the way Hungary wanted it to be changed. And this fact must be respected.
We all want that as a nation, so our Ukrainian parliament is acting accordingly, demonstrating unity and a constructive approach. The decision was adopted by a constitutional majority of 317 votes. To those nationally worried Ukrainian parts of our audience, the adopted laws fully comply with European standards and do not pose any threat to Ukrainian language and culture, and by no means mean any Russification of any sort. The state language was, is, and always will be Ukrainian, as well as the culture will be. Full stop. By the way, the reaction of the official Budapest to the adopted law on the protection of national minorities in Ukraine should become a moment of truth and sort of a litmus. Is the Hungarian government really talking about ensuring the rights of the minorities, or was using it as a pretext for Orban to block Ukraine's European integration in order to please the Kremlin? Well, if someone would have asked me, I'm sure we will hear and see more pretext by Mr. Orban very soon. Like, I don't know, the weather in Ukraine is not European enough. say Hungarian meteorologists. Women are just too beautiful and we can't stand the competition. Female organizations in Hungary are protesting. Zelensky is a black sorcerer and raises Duke Dracula from the dead every weekend to get a military advice, say Hungarian Afterlife Peace Foundation. Or more. Whatever, it will be more to come, as however you see Viktor Orban, you should not really listen to what he says, but should look at what he does. And his actions sound Orban's slogan better than any words. Putin, Putin, Putin. However, Ukraine is de facto Europe because we spill our blood for European values, while some spill only saliva, trying to talk EU parliamentarians off. Blood, truth and human values will prevail, and the Kyiv has all grounds to hope for a decision on the opening of negotiations on Ukraine accession to the EU de jure during the European Council summit in Brussels, already on December 14th, 15th. President Zelensky met Javier Milei. New horizons for Argentina, more support from the developing world for Ukraine. Zelensky witnessed the swearing-in on Sunday of Argentina's new president, Javier Milei. It was the Ukrainian leader's first official trip to Latin America, as Kyiv continues to court support among developing nations for its 21st month-long fighting of existential threat of Russian aggression. During Zelensky's visit to Buenos Aires, his office and the White House announced he would also travel to Washington to meet Joe Biden on Tuesday. Biden has asked Congress for $110 billion package of wartime funding for Ukraine and Israel. $61.4 billion goes for Ukraine, along with other national security priorities. But the request is caught up in a debate over U.S. immigration policy and border security and other procedural votings. Sad but true, that is how the system is working. Not always efficient, to put it mildly. However, the visit to Washington would focus on, I quote Zelensky's office, ensuring the unity of the United States, Europe and the world in supporting Ukraine in the war against Russia. While in Argentina, Milei welcomed Zelensky at the presidential palace after his inauguration. The two shared an extended hug, exchanged words, and then Milei, who has said he intends to convert to Judaism, presented his Ukrainian counterpart with the menorah as a gift. It was touching and somewhat even unexpected given the popular anti-Semitic tendencies, around the world. Also, Zelensky and Milei expected to have a longer tete-a-tete meeting later on Sunday. Javier Milei, once an underdog, a political outsider who has rallied against, I quote him, entrenched official corruption in Argentina and promised to uproot the political establishment. He ran on a pro-Western foreign policy platform, repeatedly expressing distrust of Moscow and Beijing. Zelensky phoned Milei shortly after the Argentina's electoral victory last month, thanking him for his clear support for Ukraine. In its readout of the call, Milei's office said he had offered to host a summit between Ukraine and Latin American states, a potential boon to Kyiv's month-long effort to strengthen its relationships with countries of the global south. Indeed, Zelensky and other senior Ukrainian officials have repeatedly presented Ukraine's war against Russia what it actually is: a resistance against colonial aggression, hoping to win support from Asian, African and Latin American states that in the past struggled to free themselves from foreign domination, sometimes even turning to Moscow for support against Western powers. However, Milei winning the ballot has shown it clearly. A new era is obviously here. New relationships are needed.
Javier wants strength for his country, and I felt that he wants honesty in international relations. I thanked him for supporting Ukraine and invited to work with us to restore peace. We discussed bilateral cooperation between our countries, which could contribute to economic strength and jobs for our people. It was a good, cordial meeting. I genuinely wish Argentina sound decision-making and sustained growth. May poverty decrease and strength increase. May freedom continually flourish.
Zelensky used the trip to Argentina to meet leaders of several developing countries. Just as well, he met the Prime Minister of the Western African country of Cape Verde, Ulis Correia Silva, on his way to Buenos Aires. Once in Argentina, Zelensky met separately with the presidents of Paraguay, Ecuador and Uruguay. Oh, and sorry, Monsieur Emmanuel Macron, Zelensky had a phone conversation with the French president as well, discussing a, I quote, office of our president, the details of the next defense package from the French Republic, which will significantly enhance Ukraine's firepower and the current needs of our country and armaments. Amen to that. Well, that's all, folks. That concludes today's episode. Thank you very much for watching. Stay updated. Subscribe to our UATV English channel for more news from Ukraine directly. Your support really matters. Thank you so much. Goodbye and see you soon.